At the end of the day, selling is transferring a feeling. If you don't have the feeling, you can't transfer it. If you don't have a good, positive feeling, dude, you're an actor. You have to sell and run your business from a place of positivity. And however you get there, God bless you. Welcome to the Primeau Show. It is episode 191, and I'm here with my friend Larry Levine, and we are going to talk about behind the scenes of his new book, Selling in a Post-Trust World. Let me pay the bills really quick, and then we'll get Larry on here. If you haven't bought my book, Sell a Million, what are you waiting for? 101 tips for furniture and mattress store owners to sell another $1 million or more this year. It is not a sales book. It is a marketing book. Of course, anything to do with me is going to bleed sales. So there are some things about sales in there. If you buy the book and you want help implementing an idea, my producer is just so amazing. Look at that. Call me at 419-560-3169. I will help you implement an idea or two in that book, absolutely for free, no strings attached. And I'd like to thank my friends at the Mattress Industry Network Group for sponsoring the Pete Primeau Show. If you are in the mattress industry and you want to learn how to build, market, sell, and succeed in the mattress industry, you're at the right place. Hit that QR code and tell them Pete sent you, and I will look forward to seeing you in the group several times a week. I get in there whenever I can. And for my friends that are going to Wingo Coaching Masterclass in Nashville, after the show, I have a few errands I need to run, and then I will be flying to Nashville, and I will be in Nashville with you fine folks for the next few days. And without a further to do, Larry, welcome to the show.
Oh, what's happening? Great seeing you. Ever since we coordinate this, I've been looking forward to this conversation for quite some time, Pete.
I've been wanting to see you live. I was so bummed out last year when they didn't do Outbound, and I didn't get a chance to see you. So my goal in 2025 is to make sure that I see you in person, because, every now and again in life, you meet somebody and you just kind of click. And I felt like that happened with us. And so I'm really looking forward to figuring out how to get some more Larry Levine in my life in 2025. But dude, selling in a post-trust world, guys, I just got to show you this.
That makes me feel so good. Thank you.
It's broke. Look at it. It's been totally abused. This thing, if I just go through real quick, I'll just give you guys a couple. Here is True Power. Amen. Fit. We'll get to that later. There were so many good things in here. This is ridiculous. But here's my question to you, my friend. You have such a huge winner in your first book, Selling from the Heart. And anybody that hasn't bought this book, Selling from the Heart, got to get it. You got to get it, and you got to live it. And not only will you make more money, which is really a very, very secondary byproduct. Hey, there's me and Larry at Outbound. You will have more fun with your life and with your career. And what I've continuously said about this new book, Selling in a Post-Trust World, is not only does it make you a better salesperson, but it makes you a better human being. And, when you went for the juggler, when you compared sales to marriage, I'm like, he is not playing. You want to talk about being vulnerable, and you want to talk about let's just lay it all Tara, you do need this book. Everybody needs a
Well,
book. But
thank
I'm
you.
going to tell you something, girlfriend. You do sell from your heart. But when you do it on purpose, it's different. And you're going to find that there's an entire community out there for you that Larry leads, that you will find a home. And you will find other people to bounce ideas off of who feel the same way about life and about sales that we do. So, so here's the question. How much guts did it take to risk this and then go to this? And Larry, this is even better. I mean, I didn't think I would, if I wrote this, I never would have written another book, because I'm like, it's so good. But this, it's even better.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, I mean, it's almost like you ripped open your heart and lopped up your brain and just poured yourself into this thing. I mean, I've never seen a book that went as far as you do. And I'm like going, I do that, but I didn't know why I did it. And now that I know why, it makes it so different. And so why did you risk everything to write this book?
Oh man, Pete, that's a great question, because I'm gonna share this. This book took me a long time to put together. Let me tell you. So this is full transparency. When I wrote Selling from the Heart, and this book's been out now, gosh, this month, 6 years, believe it or not. Just last week was 6 years ago that Selling from the Heart was launched. I'm going to tell you, I had no clue. I'm going to tell you this right now. I had no clue if 5 people would buy the book, 50 people, or 500. I just kind of wrote. I just wanted to write a book. And it was kind of how I carried myself. And I had no idea that this book, Selling from the Heart, would turn into a business, that would turn into a movement that would change people's lives. I had no idea. However, I remember having this conversation, and it was with a really close friend of mine. And this person asked, "Are you going to write another book?" And I said, "I don't know, because man, if I write a book and it tarnishes Selling from the Heart, I don't think I could live with myself." And I'm not saying this in a bad way, by no means. And it wrecked with me, because I go, man, I had no idea. I really had no idea that when Selling from the Heart dropped, that if I could fast forward to here we are in 2024, all of this would have happened. I would have said, "You are nuts. You guys are completely nuts." I would have had no idea that this would have happened. However, when I decided to write the next book, I go, man, if I write this book and it bombs, well, man, I got to answer to a lot of people, but more importantly, I got to answer to myself. And I really took my time with this. In fact, full disclosure, I wrote the whole book without the title to the book.
Mm.
I did not. Once the book was done, I finally came up with the title. But what was interesting is I got this, by the way, Selling in a Post-Trust World took me 2.5 times longer to write than Selling from the Heart, because I got about a quarter or halfway into the book and I shelved it. I completely shelved the book. I go, I don't know if I can pull this off, because I was mind screwing putting this book together. I'm like going, again, I had imposter syndrome racing through my head. I had all the stories, all the mental gymnastics of going, if I write this thing and it goes into the toilet, now what? And so I completely just shelved the book, just got rid of it. It just sat in the virtual closet forever, until one day a couple people talked me off the ledge, and they just said, "Hey, you know what? You need to bring this to the forefront." Because I was already coaching and training some very well-known companies on the contents of the book. And I go, okay, fine. It's the commitment I make. And I poured my heart to this. And it took me about 6 months to finish it. And when I got done, I read it and I go, holy crap. I go, this one's way better than Selling from the Heart. So thank you for picking up on it. It's why I said, I had people read the raw version of this book who are not in sales. had nothing to do with sales. And they go, I get the book. I totally get the book. And that's why I said this book is transformative. It transformed selling from the heart, believe it or not, and the way we do business. And I believe it'll transform your personal life and your professional career. And you're right. I think this book is better. I really do. I think this book runs circles around selling from the heart.
So, you know that the power of positive thinking ended up in a waste paper basket. And you know that he looked at his wife and he said, don't you dare take that book to the publisher. It's dead. It's over. Blah, blah, blah. She took the entire waste basket with the book in it to the publisher. And that's how the power of positive thinking got published. True story. When you invest that much of yourself in anything, a book, a relationship, there's a scary place. There's this vulnerable, very scary place. And you said it. You're a mind effing yourself.
Yeah.
And we all do that. And we all suffer from imposter syndrome. So I wanted to bring that out. When you first start to enjoy some success, it's human nature. And we all suffer from it. And we all have to overcome it. And we all have to find creative ways to overcome it. But thank you for sharing that with me, because I've got 2 books that are in the literal proverbial trash. I just stopped, and I'll pick them back up. I'll pick them back up when the time is right. In the meantime, I'm writing other things. Um, so Larry, when you wrote your very first book,
Oh, thank
Tara,
you, Tara. That's
Tara,
awesome.
do you want to know something?
That's taking action. By the way, that's
The-
taking action. I applaud
So,
you.
so,
Just
so
you just made me smile.
I got to tell you something about Tara. Um, her and RJ own a mattress store in Jacksonville, Florida. And they are known throughout the entire industry as the biggest transformers, biggest action takers you've ever seen in your life. They see a new idea and they just go for it. And so, Tara, that's awesome. You're going to absolutely love it, and you're going to benefit from it just like I've benefited from it. And actually, one of the things that you talked about was creating community. And I started to create a little community on Fridays at 1:00. It's a Zoom, it's a free Zoom call. And our store owners and some sales pros that work on the retail floor join in, and some reps join in, and some VPs of sales jump in. And basically, we talk about on a Zoom call for an hour every Friday at 1:00 what's on everybody's mind.
Mhm.
And people will bring their problems, and we will talk about it. And it's almost like a roundtable type format, but digitally.
Mhm.
And so Tara's part of that. She's a very important part of that community. So Tara, thank you for being here, and thank you for being an awesome member of our Zoom community that we've created on Friday. So Larry, you take so many chances. And I love your mantra, about not being an empty suit. One of the things that really touched me deeply, it's right at the very end of the book. And I actually connected to the gentleman that wrote this. And it's so powerful. It's Brad Rennick. And he says, towards the end of his testimonial, which you kindly included in this book, our daily vocabulary evolved to include terms like authenticity, sales professional, self-reflection, servant mindset, and empathy, while truly understanding that we were no longer empty suits. So good, so powerful, so eloquent. And you're encouraging us to go on a journey. Um, you are encouraging us to go on a journey and to go deeper into ourselves than what any of us might have without Larry Levine. And that is bold, my friend.
You know what? Some may call it bold, and I get where you're going with this, Pete, but I will tell you this, and I learned a lot. So I'm gonna let everyone know, just give you a window. I'm 59 years old. I'll be 60 in a couple months. And I tell people this: I learned more in my 50s than I did in my 20s, 30s, and 40s combined. And I was never that much of a risk taker, but I just learned that in order to bring my why to the forefront, and I'll just let you know this, and I've deeply gone on, I've deeply been in this journey, is I believe success happens when I contribute to a greater cause. And that greater cause is I want to elevate the sales profession. I'm a sales geek at heart. I've spent my whole entire career in sales. But sales can become so much better. And it's the journey that I took to really unpack who I was. And I really, I unpack it a little bit in selling from the heart. I really unpack it in selling in a post-trust world. I go, if you want to grow your sales, if you want to grow the relationships you have with your clients, if you want to create what I call sales sustainability, you got to go on a journey. And that journey is y'all got to open the cupboards, and y'all got to open the cupboards of who you are, which means you got to pop the mirror in front of your face. And I talked about this early on in selling in a post-trust world. You got to pop the mirror in front of your face, and you got to be willing to go places that you normally haven't gone.
Yeah.
And that's okay. That
Yeah.
is okay. But I tell you what, the more connected I became to myself, the more connected I became to my clients.
Mhm.
I want people to really, just stop and digest that for a moment. These are the things I've always said this. I go places that people think about, but they don't openly talk about. And in selling from the heart, I talk about it late in the book. Is sales is a full contact sport.
Mm.
You got to get yourself, you're going to get knocked down, but you got to pick yourself back up. In order to do this, you got to be really secure with who you are. And that took me a long time to figure out. I'm just bringing this to the forefront, and I I don't apologize for any of it. I speak my mind. I do it in a very professional way. I do it in a loving, caring, nurturing way. Why? Because very few are doing this in the sales world. Very few are actually bringing things to the forefront in a way that needs to be said. They're following the status quo and what needs to be said. All due respect to them. But I choose to take people down a journey. That's why, it's why I ended the Selling from the Heart with Robert Frost's, poem, Road Less Taken, is we got to be able to take those roads. And too many of y'all are swimming in this ocean called comfortability, right? Y'all are following everybody else. You're not willing to take chances. Well, guess what? In order to grow, you got to take chances. In order to grow, you got to be willing to do the things. One of my favorite sayings is this: if you want to achieve the results that no one's achieving, you got to be willing to do the things that no one is doing. And in
Mm.
order to do that, you got to look yourself in the mirror and just be willing to go the places that no one else is going. That's what I take people on in a journey in these books.
Yeah. And that's why I say it makes you a better person and it makes you a better salesperson. But so here's something, and I don't know how to say this without making it sound bad. You are the biggest ass kicker I've ever seen in my life, Larry. I mean, you like give it to us like a kick in the ass, but you do it with love and you do it with care. And so I can accept it. I'm like, but this dude really cares. Like, and that hurts. And, damn, he just ripped off the band-aid and I didn't want anyone to see that. And oh man. But every time I look, and I'm 64, Larry, I look at my biggest successes all followed my biggest chances that I took. I went too far. I said things to huge dealers
Yeah.
that nobody's ever said to them and exposed their weaknesses to them. And they're like, and I'm ready to get thrown out of the office. And they look at me and they go, "You're the first rep that had the balls to actually tell me the truth. Thank you." And, you know, that's, it's hard to communicate that. You've got to take chances. They've got to be smart. They've got to be calculated. And you have to truly care, because the football coaches who are super successful, they are disciplinarians. They do not allow their teams to slack. They do not, they throw hissy fit. They do whatever they got to do. So whatever they have to do, whether they're giving the team the silent treatment, if that's the way they operate, or they're throwing things around, if that's the way they operate. But either way they do it because they care. And the team knows it. If I follow this dude, I'm going to win.
Yeah.
And so, you know what? This sucks. I'm bleeding. I'm sweating. My body is rebelling. I'm about numb. I can't make my legs and arms move anymore, but I'm going to find a way to move to make this happen, because I know where we're going. And a lot of the things that you ask people to do in the book, they're not easy. I
Mm-mm.
mean, they're hard.
They are
And
hard.
I mean, could you say that it's simple? It's probably a stretch. Each individual thing might be simple, but it's everything builds on each other. And how you build yourself to a place where you actually have earned the sale before you've even made the contact is a very powerful place for a salesperson to be. And when you know that you've done the work, and one of the things that I've followed you for years, Larry, and you know this, that for years you have said, what if we focused on being a professional salesperson instead of just a rep? What if we approached it the same way professional athletes approach their game, and with the kind of preparation, with the kind of hard work, with the kind of discipline and the attention to detail? If we did that, we'd have a lot more success. And truer words have never been spoken, Larry.
Amen on that. And here's what I want us to collectively start thinking about, and we'll unpack what you said. But uh, in selling from the heart, it was all about how do you bring your authentic self to the forefront? How do you become the best version of yourself? Well, in selling in a post-trust world, I kind of ratchet this up a little bit. And here's where I want to start, because it plays on what you had just said. Is I'm a massive believer that the words you use, the messaging you use, is either going to connect to somebody or disconnect from somebody. And I want us all just to stop and think through this for a moment. Are the words that you're using, the messaging you're delivering, are they inviting people into a conversation, or are they pushing people away from a conversation? It's how well you connect and how well you relate to someone. Here's why I'm saying this. Because the whole title of the book, right, Selling in a Post-Trust World, conjures up, trust and credibility right now are at really anemically low levels in sales, and it doesn't have to be that way. Again, it goes back to how well are you connecting? How well are you relating? How well are you inviting somebody in? How well are you showing up? And we'll unpack this. I'm sure we'll probably unpack this as time goes on in our conversation today. But here's what I want us to think through. And this goes back to, God, this happened to me like 25-ish years ago now, maybe even close to 30 years ago. I was in a leadership workshop, and I grew up in the Office Technology Channel. And I remember this guy who was leading this. He'd always have these chair moments. And these chair moments, he would stand up and he'd mess up his hair like this, and he'd bring out an old school comb and comb his hair again. That was when you knew the guy was going to drop some wisdom. And he says, you know what? You as leaders, You got to be able to deliver a message with an iron fist and a velvet glove.
Mm. Yep.
Let's stop and think about that. And iron fist is, you're going to have to deliver tough messages. Whether you're a sales leader or you're a salesperson, you're going to have to deliver a tough message. But guess what? You're going to have to do this with tender, loving care. You're going to have to invite these people into a conversation. I encourage everyone, go out and read a book. Go grab it if y'all are avid book readers, and go read the book, A Business of Honor. And it's sitting here, right? It's The Business of Honor. And there's a reason why I ask you to do this. In this book, they poke the bear at salespeople, and they say this. I'm paraphrasing. They say salespeople struggle to have healthy, assertive business conversations with the people in front of them. And I believe it goes back to all the negative things that are going on inside that salesperson's head because of the perception of salespeople. I don't know if I can say this, because if I say that, I don't know how they're going to, feel about that. Guess what? You become more comfortable with yourself. Watch what starts to happen. Mark my word on this. When you're sitting in front of key decision makers and influencers, you got to be able to have healthy, assertive business conversations. That's what they want from people. That's how you build trust. That's how you build credibility. Here's what's interesting. I just seen a comment. Sorry, Pete, I'm taking over your show. I saw
That was the whole point.
I saw Andrew Anderson. Interesting comment. People find lawyers more trustworthy. I don't know. I'll take the fifth on that one. Nevertheless, but regardless, that's why we live in this world that's post-trust. There's rampant skepticism. People's BS meters are at an all-time high. If you are in sales right now, and by the way, everybody's in sales. Everybody's in sales. Just think about that one for a second. We're living in this world where you got to overcome skepticism. You got to overcome doubt. You got to overcome all of these things. The way you do it is you got to understand how to bring the best version of yourself forward. And how do I overcome all of these trust issues? It's understanding all the silent things that are going on in someone's head. These are the things that no one's talking about. Hey, is Pete trustworthy? Is Pete going to listen to me? Does Pete have my best interests at heart? Is Pete present? Does Pete see me? Or is Pete just there? Sorry, Pete, I'm just using you because we're having this conversation, but I think you get where I'm going with this. I've never been afraid. I've literally never been afraid to have the conversations that no one's having. There's too many people. And again, I'm saying this with the utmost respect to all of your listeners. Everybody's swimming in this comfortable blue ocean that everyone else is swimming in. I don't want to be swimming in that ocean. I want to be swimming in a completely different ocean. And that's the ocean of making somebody feel so comfortable with me that they open up. And the way you do that is by getting to know yourself and be able to ask questions that no one's asking to get the results that no one's getting, which means you got to have some tough freaking questions. You got to be able to engage with people to get them to think. That's okay. That is okay. Otherwise, they're just going to view you as every other salesperson.
Yeah. And trust was once given, Larry, but trust is now earned. And you really break it down in your book, how to earn the trust. And one of the pieces of the puzzle is becoming vulnerable. But you can't become vulnerable until you do the hard work of getting comfortable with yourself, right? Then you can be vulnerable. And when we can be vulnerable, then they can be vulnerable back. And then we can start to understand what their real needs are, right? Because
yep. Yeah. So okay. I'm just gonna go there. I'm not even gonna say my apologies for going there. I'm just gonna go there.
Go.
But here's the thing. You bring up the word vulnerable. Now I just started thinking about this. Again, let's just all collectively think about this for a moment. If you all cannot become vulnerable with yourself, if you all cannot ask tough questions of yourself, You will never become vulnerable with the people in front of you. You will never be able to ask them tough questions. And this is what I believe. This is my beliefs. There's a confidence issue. There's a believability issue going on right now. And there's a low self-worth issue going on right now because very few are willing to work on this. When you lack confidence, when you lack believability in yourself, when you lack believability in messaging and you have low self-worth, you cannot pull any of this stuff off.
Yep.
And you're leaving revenue, you're leaving profits, you're leaving client satisfaction, you're leaving referrals, and you're leaving sales sustainability right smack out on the business table. And I break this down in Selling in a Post-Trust World. If you cannot ask yourself tough questions, growth questions, uncomfortable questions, you will never, ever, ever be able to look an executive in the eye and ask them tough questions. And tough questions aren't bad. It's just healthy business conversation. That's why it's so important. You got to work on yourself. You got to be willing to do all of this. You want to build massive amounts of trust? Start engaging in healthy business conversation. Start asking the questions no one's asking. Shine the light on them. Make them feel so comfortable with you that they soon open up. And when they open up, they will share with you business secrets. They won't do that with everyone else because everyone else isn't shining the light on them. Everyone else is shining the light on themselves.
Yeah. And guys that are watching, you guys that are sales reps, you're getting a master class right now. You're getting a master class for free. And my retail store owners, your questions that you ask your customers about how good of a night of sleep they're getting and what their goals are and all that stuff, the secret is going deeper. The secret is finding out everything that ails them. But to do that, you have to be comfortable with yourself and you have to get them to be comfortable with you to go deeper than the other salespeople are going. And you do it by doing a lot of work that nobody ever sees, both on yourself and your professional work. And you do it by step, basically following this book from the beginning to the end. And you even snuck in a Tony Robbins quote in here.
I snuck in more than a couple.
The only person who is truly holding you back is you. No more excuses. It is time to change. It is time to live life at a new level. That is so good. So good. And, because we know each other, I mean, I see you barking this out at me like, Pete. And I'm like, yes, Larry.
Hey, I just gotta say something. And I learned this, man. I learned this back I started my sales career in the late 80s. And I learned how dysfunctional sales was. It took me like 60 days to figure this one out. And my sales manager wasn't holding me accountable. I grew up in a household where accountability was slapped up on the kitchen table. And I said, I got to hold myself radically accountable to all these things because no one else is going to hold me accountable. And there's what I'm going to ask everyone. If y'all want, and I know everyone wants to become better. I know they do. But it's going to take doing some work and setting aside the excuses. And again, maybe this is how my brain works. I'm just, check this out. And I'm sticking up for salespeople when I say this. Salespeople are a product of their environments. They are products in the environments they were raised in. Subsequently, we're products in the environments we were raised in. I just happened to be raised in a household that was highly relational, and there was accountability and discipline like none other. And I just carried that off into the sales world. You don't think professional athletes hold themselves radically accountable? You don't think they're disciplined? You don't think they do the things that no one else is doing so they can get the paychecks no one else is getting? But yet, right? Yet salespeople just magically think things are just going to poof, come out of nowhere. It requires work. It requires work. And that means y'all got to be disciplined. Y'all got to be disciplined. You got to bring consistency to the forefront. So I said, in an inconsistent world, consistency's king and queen. I'll say that one again. In an inconsistent world, consistency is king and queen. It's unfortunate. Most salespeople, I'm going to go there again, Pete. Most salespeople are consistently inconsistent. They ride the freaking roller coaster of profits and revenue because they're not consistently doing the things they know they should be doing. They negotiate themselves out of what they know they should be doing.
Yep. Yep. Just like in 2020, we went through the COVID thing, we were shut down, and then we opened back up, and then business was just booming, and it boomed and it boomed and it boomed. And then we, as an industry, in the mattress industry, we said, well, our salespeople are so busy waiting on customers, we don't need to train them anymore. And guess what? Our sales muscles, they got soft and flabby. And guess what? The traffic slowed down, and it's really slow right now. And the sales muscles got to get exercised again, and they got to get to where they need to be. And that is true for everybody's sales muscles. It doesn't matter if you're selling at retail or if you're selling business to business. We all have to do the work that we know we need to do, and we all have to push and be consistently consistent, which is easy to say and very hard to do. And, analyzing what we're saying, how we're showing up, how deep are we going? And, you got to start off somewhere, right, Larry? And so, like, if you're a wholesale rep, I get this question constantly from reps. I was in retail for, 5 years or 10 years, and now I'm a wholesale rep. What do I need to do to be successful? What you need to do to be successful in a super overly simplistic way is go on Amazon or Barnes and Noble, whatever is your favorite right now, and grab this book and start with have a conversation, a deep conversation after you do some of the initial work, and ask your confidant, this dealer that you're going to pick, who number one should be successful, and number two, you have a good relationship with, and that you can be a little bit vulnerable and say something along these lines. I was in retail for blah, 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 but this is all new to me. Tell me about your favorite reps and tell me about things that you don't like that reps do. And they will start to tell you, and they will start to tell you what they hate, and they will tell you what they love, and they will start to give you a playbook. And then you go to the next dealer and to the next dealer. And when you start to see that this information is starting to sync up and that these are the questions that I need to start asking my dealers, this is what I need to do. I need to be an extension of their training arm. Well, how can you be an extension of their training arm if you didn't ask them, how do you do sales training? Like, what kind of methodology do you guys follow? Can I come here on a weekend or on a holiday and spend some time with you and your salespeople observing what they do so that I can help you be better? When's the last time a rep asked them to do that? No rep does. Only professional salespeople do that.
Hey, and you want to know why? Because most reps, the relationship's not there. So, hey, Pete, I got to ask you a question really quick.
Sure.
So, because you just used the word dealer a second ago.
Yep.
So I'm gonna, if it's okay, I'm gonna give a crash course for everyone, all your listeners, on how you can apply the book. So if you're a manufacturer, I'm just gonna go there. So if you're a manufacturer's rep, because I heard you say it, and you're calling on a bunch of dealers.
Yeah.
This is how you can take selling in a post-trust world and apply it to the mattress world. So If y'all are ready, you may want to grab a sheet of paper and a pen on this one. I'm going to give you all a crash course in less than 5 minutes on how you can apply this book. So if you're a manufacturer's rep that's watching this show or you're listening to the show later, and you're thinking, how can I apply this to a dealer? You can do this. And by the way, Andrew Anderson, you've never seen it from a rep. Watch, if you're willing to do this, I can promise you this, people will come back for more and more and more. So if you're a manufacturer's rep and you're calling on dealers, first thing I want you to do is the first leg of the trust formula is you got to think, how many relationships have I built inside this dealership, in this mattress dealer? Who do I know? Who are the key decision makers? Who are the influencers? What do I know about these people personally or professionally? I challenge you to go at minimum 6 deep. You're going to have to do this. Some of y'all might be going, I don't know if I can do it. Stop the excuses. The more you know, the more you grow. The more people you know, the more you'll grow. The first leg of building trust, and it's a trust formula, I unpack it, is authentic relationships. So once you as a manufacturer's rep start isolating who are the 6 key decision makers and influencers, next thing I want you to think about is, am I bringing meaningful value? In the trust formula, thank you very much for putting it up on the screen. It's authentic relationships plus meaningful value. The authentic relationships part of this is who you know. Who do you know in this dealership? Meaningful value is what you know. What you know is business smarts, business insight, business goods. You got to bring both of these things together. If you want to build trust and credibility as a manufacturer's rep calling into dealerships, you got to bring and combine authentic relationships with meaningful value. They go hand in hand. They go hand in hand. That's how you build trust. I'm going to pause right here keep that up on the screen just for a second. I'm going to pause here and just say this. There's a lot of salespeople who get caught in the friend zone. They get caught in the friend zone. They get caught in the relationship zone. By the way, I'm high friendship. I'm high relationship. However, if you take out meaningful value in this and all you're worried about is being friends and being liked, you're going to get caught in the friend zone. You're going to have an inconsistent sales funnel and your friends are going to be buying you lunch because you're broke. If you want to just if you just want to ratchet it up just one notch, bring meaningful value, bring business smarts. In other words, to bring business smarts, you got to become educated as a manufacturer's rep. You got to bring forth education, insight, ideas, get them to forward think about their dealership. Combine both of them. However, if you're a really smart manufacturer's rep and you struggle to build those authentic relationships, you're still going to have an inconsistent pipeline and you're still going to be broke. You got to bring both of these together. Authentic relationships, who you know, meaningful value, what you know. The accelerators to this, and I outline it in great detail in my book, is inspirational experience. Inspirational experience is jet fuel. This is how y'all show up. By the way, you're responsible for how you show up. It's not your manager's responsibility. It's not the owner of your company's responsibility. It's not the company's responsibility. It's your responsibility. You're responsible for how you show up. Are you inspiring and influence these dealers to do better business? And then the last part of this is what Pete and I have been speaking about. And that's disciplined habits. And that's when you show up. And if you look at this, let's just say you look at the trust formula as a chair, right? Chair's got 4 legs. If I don't bring disciplined habits to the forefront, guess what, folks? You ain't going to be sitting in that chair. It's impossible to sit in a 3-legged chair unless it's a stool, right? But nevertheless, disciplined habits is the glue to all of this. Disciplined habits is hard work. That's the tough stuff. The inspirational experience, that's what's jet fuel. I equate that to customer retention and profitability. This is why I believe this. Those that are willing to implement the trust formula will see their revenue soar, their profit soar, client retention just soar to new heights. You'll create sales sustainability beyond your wildest imagination. And guess what? You'll actually enjoy what y'all do. That's the fastest crash course, Pete, on the trust formula.
That's awesome. Oh man, we're coming up to where I turn the show over to you. And so I am going to randomly go through my book that I have literally hundreds of notes in, and I'm just going to throw some stuff. So, talking about these habits, I actually, let me see. Yeah. If you want to change your sales life, change your sales habits. Yeah. Absolute gold. You just said it. Um, but Larry, I got to tell you something. I fell in love with you when I saw this because you quoted right out of the good book, Psalms. He who walks with integrity and works righteousness and speaks in his heart. Are you kidding me? I thought we were supposed to run and hide, man. I mean, I thought you weren't supposed to bring this stuff up and talk about this stuff. I mean, you got something from the Bible in your book.
There's more than one passage from the Bible in the book.
I know.
But
I know that.
here this is interesting. And this is the struggles. And this is why I'm bringing this so out into the open. Everything that I talk about in selling from the heart, everything I talk about in selling in a post-trust world are people skills related and relationship skills related. The two things that I see across, and it doesn't matter if it's business to business or business to consumer. I don't see salespeople getting coached on how do I develop my people skills and my relationship building skills. Guess what? As humans are messy. Relationships are messy. Business is messy. We do a great job in sales of quote unquote, these are all air quotes, right? And I'm saying this with all due respect. We do a great job of product training salespeople to death, which is fine, right? I totally get it. You got to understand your product. But guess what? You got to understand people and you got to understand relationships. And there's a lot of assumptions being made in the sales world. Oh, Pete, right? He already knows how to build relationships. Pete already knows Pete's got these people skills down. Great. So be it. No one's coaching to this. And in a world that lacks trust, that's full of skepticism, BS meters are an all-time high. You got to double down on your people skills and relationship building skills. And that's why the subtitle of Selling in a Post-Trust World is so important. Discover the soft skills that yield hard dollars. What I'm talking about, it's hard work, but it'll drive hard dollars. It really will. But there's very few, and I say this because I'm in and out of some very unique sales channels globally with some very large recognizable companies. There's very few salespeople. I don't care if you're new in the business or you're tenured in the business or you got 1 foot out of the business. There's very few leaders out there and owners and presidents of companies that are coaching their people on people skills and relationship building skills.
Yep. Your vision will propel you. A few questions to ask yourself. What impact would you like to have with your clients? What impact would you like to have within the marketplace? And what impact would you like to have within your community? That is so powerful, Larry. I mean, this book is just loaded with that. I mean, there's so much in this book that it really should be 3 or 4 books. I mean, this is like absurd. No, it really is. And something that I just love. Your sales life is too short. Find a mentor or a business coach. I say this almost every week. I sometimes get tired of saying it, but I never not say it because it can change your life. And a coach for you is a big deal. And you might say, well, I can't afford a coach.
Can't afford not to have one.
Maybe you can't afford a coach right now. Can you afford a book? Can you start with a book? And can you go to a podcast? And can you start to ratchet up and start executing and get yourself to a place where you can And what Larry said is 100% on the money. You can't afford not to have a coach because it's going to take you so long. I got to tell you something. If I'm a new salesperson and I just want to get off to a good start. If you're a new salesperson and you're watching this, one, two, buy these books, get a head start, join a master class like Tara did today, and get on board and get to doing the work, because this is what's in these two books. It took me 30 years to learn this. And I still learn from Larry some of the finer points, and becoming aware of something, even though you can go, yeah, I did that. I did it on accident. I didn't do it on purpose. So when you start to do things and execute at a higher level on purpose, there is power in that. And uh, these two books together will give you such a great foundation that you are going to leapfrog many, many, many years of experimenting and failing. Just start doing the work, and you're going to find that you're going to have success faster, and the success is going to be funner. That's one of the crazy things. One of my sayings, I constantly say this, and I don't say it on accident. People go, oh, that's cute. It's one of Pete's sayings. Have fun and sell a million. It's not sell a million and have fun. It's have fun and sell a million. Why? Because people want to be around people who have something to contribute. And when you have fun and you have things to contribute, you're going to have a lot more success. So here we are, last 8 minutes. I lied to you, Larry. You're not getting the last 10 minutes because there's only 8 minutes left.
It's all good.
Was there a question that I didn't ask you that you wish you would have, or is there something near and dear to your heart that you want to talk to us about?
There's one thing that comes to mind, and I'll try to keep this short, and I expand upon it. And I saw this play out in my career in selling in a post-trust world. There's a chapter where I call proximity is power. And I'm going to tie in a couple things. I massively believe in business coaches, and I massively believe in mentors. Business coaches and mentors have changed my life. And my last business coach, and I'm going to give him a tip of the cap, and he's a near and dear friend of mine. He's been along this journey the whole step of the way, and he wrote the preamble to Selling in a Post-Trust World, and that's Dave Sanderson. Dave Sanderson is a kindred spirit of mine. I love this guy. If it wasn't for some of his coaching and bringing some of his mentors into my life, I don't know where I'd be. And this is what I learned from Dave Sanderson. And I'm going to give a special shout out to another guy named Don Barden. And they taught me this: proximity is power. You as a salesperson, you want to get in proximity to people who have power. I'm going to give you the top layer of this. I dive deep into this in my book. They taught me, find coaches, find mentors, find people who got power, get to know them, put yourselves in rooms with people who have power. Get close, snuggle up to them. Why? They can fast track you with one phone call, one email. They can get you to the front of the line. And I learned this. I learned this from Dave Sanderson. And you know how much Dave Sanderson means to me for those who follow me here at Selling from the Heart. I learned this: find where the people you want to engage with hang out and put yourself in front of these people. I don't speak at every conference. I don't attend every conference. I attend the conferences, and now I speak at places where I know people who have power hang out, that I want to get to know, that with one phone call, one email, they can get me in front of people who I want to get in front of. So I'd ask everyone to think about, as we bring this to a close, you all have this power. You all have it in your community. Find the movers and shakers. Air quotes around that. Find the influential people in your marketplace. Get to know where they hang out. Get to know them. These people are more accessible than you think they are. They have Rolodexes like none other. If you want to achieve the results that no one is achieving, you got to put yourself in proximity to the people that nobody is getting in front of. I learned this, and this is how I've rapidly grown selling from the heart.
That is great advice. And I read and reread that part of the book. Larry, all of you sales reps out there, I'm going to tell you guys. Yeah, when is part two? I know, Andy. Andy, I know, brother. Thank you. Thank you. That is a really nice
Thank
compliment.
you.
And thank you for always being on our Zoom call, Andy. And thank you for always being vulnerable and open. And you really, you of all people should be reading both of these books and implementing everything. And what you're going to find, Andy, is you implement 90%, but get the other 10%. And that's power. So listen, I'm going to tell everybody a secret here. And all of you retailers, just kind of tune out. I'm talking to you sales reps now. I'm going to tell you something that you, if you're experienced, might know. And if you're brand new, you don't know this. So here's the secret. The the really big movers and shakers, the elite, the top 100, the buyer that you're afraid to pick up the phone and call, they're the nicest people in the whole world. They are so much nicer than the little teeny tiny dealers where there's no dollars. It's unbelievable how nice people are at the very top of the food chain. It's incredible. It's not only are they smarter, but they're better human beings. And I'm going to tell you this, why you live in fear of calling these people is just beyond me. But if you're my competitor, please don't call them. I don't want you to leave them alone. It's okay. You just stay where you're at. Um, Larry, thank you so
Oh,
much.
you're quite welcome. My
We,
pleasure.
we, Andy, I see. I knew that you would not let
Thank you,
Tara
Mr.
outdo
Anderson.
you. Andy, you bought them both, right? I know you did. I know you did. And I know we're going to talk about it on Friday. Um, when I saw Weinberg, who's like one of my heroes, wrote the forward, I said, "Oh my Lord!" And you know, I just what's not to love about Mike Weinberg? I mean, he's you know, you guys are two peas in a pod.
Thank you.
You really are. And you know, there he is right there, by the way. Thank you, Chris. Chris, you are the best producer in the entire world. Larry, somebody that's been watching this and they want to get a hold of you, they want to talk to you, engage you. How do they get a hold of you? Oh, you're welcome, Tara. It's our pleasure, really. I mean, you know, I feel like, did you guys ever see the movie The Grinch? And how the heart just goes like from this to this to this to this. That's what's happening with this show right
It's all,
now.
no, it's all.
My heart is bursting. You guys make me so proud to call you friends, and I love having Larry on here because you guys are already on the right track, but you're going to be even further down there with all of this. So, Larry, how do people get a hold of you?
If you want to find out what we're all up to, you just go to sellingfromtheheart.net. I'm all over LinkedIn. I'm not hard to find on LinkedIn. You can connect with me there. If you want to know what we're really up to at Selling from the Heart, y'all can bust out your mobile device, whatever that be, and text the word trust. All you got to do is text the word trust to 21,000. So TRUST, just text the word trust to 21,000 and you'll get all kinds of goodies as far as what we're up to. And if somebody wants to reach out and send me an email, it's L and then my last name, Levine at sellingfromtheheart.net. And then one more quick ask is I'd ask everyone who's watching or listening to this, give a shout out to Pete. Let him know what you thought about our time together, what it meant to you. And more importantly, what's one thing that you learned? And share that with Pete, because I know Pete would appreciate it. And I appreciate you, Pete. Thank you for having me on your show.
Thank you, Larry. Thank you for all you do for sales. And thank you for being a friend. And I meant what I said about 2025. Do you have an event coming up?
Not off the top of my head.
No?
Not off the top of my head. Who knows?
When
But
you get
I'm
one,
going
you
into
got
I'm going into my 2025 planning here pretty quick. So who
good.
knows? But in 2025, I promise somewhere we'll meet.
Good. We will. Take care, Larry. Thank you so much. And thank you for everyone. Go forth and sell a million. Take care.